We have all heard the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. But what if those pictures leave you speechless? On a Spectrum News 1 special.
Mom, just get out of the house!
And it's just out of control.
An unprecedented firestorm rips through Los Angeles.
There are miles and miles of homes that look like this.
Thousands of people along the coast race for safety.
The flames have jumped the Pacific Coast Highway.
This fire is far from over.
Hours later, another community comes face to face with deadly flames.
I don't think I've ever been more afraid in my life.
As the sun rose the next day, fighting to break through the choking smoke, no one was ready, nor could they be ready, for what they would see.
It's a nightmare. It's apocalyptic.
It's all gone. It's all gone.
The scenic Pacific Coast Highway, once lined with multi-million-dollar homes, reduced to rubble.
It's incomprehensible to me that that's gone.
Entire neighborhoods wiped off the map.
I think most of us are in shock. To imagine the life you build for years and years, and just to see it reduced to this.
There was a lot of stuff that was important to me in there, and then it burned.
I teach people to save lives, and I couldn't even save my house.
There are so many stories of incredible loss, but also stories of incredible resilience and overwhelming generosity.
I'm overwhelmed with the love, and today this is good.
We're here for each other. The roses are still alive. They will bloom. We will bloom. We got this all together.
Welcome to the LA Firestorm, a Spectrum News special. I'm Amrit Singh in Altadena near Pasadena, where a deadly wildfire grew exponentially with incredibly dry conditions and near 100-mile-per-hour winds that fanned these flames and grounded the aerial support we so badly needed. The result, houses and structures gone, landmarks and memories scrubbed. And afterward, what's left? Toxic debris and death, but also stories of help and hope. Let's take a look back at how this all started.
We're watching these two small fires.
Tuesday, 10:30 a.m., the first reports of smoke billowing over the city. The Palisades fire grows quickly in whipping winds.
We have some evacuation orders for people to leave.
12:07 p.m., the LA Fire Department issues orders for people in Pacific Palisades to evacuate.
The sky is so much darker now. We're really seeing this dark, black, thick smoke.
1:03 p.m., the fire explodes. Thick black smoke seen across the city.
You can see the ash, the smoke in the sky. You can hear the sounds of the blaze just crackling.
2:01 p.m., this once small fire has already grown to 770 acres, and people scramble to get out.
It's fine, Mom. Just get out of the house.
And it's just out of control.
3:04 p.m., thousands of people try to get out, some abandoning their cars, running away from the chaotic scene.
We're not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination.
5:45 p.m., California's Governor Gavin Newsom declares a state of emergency. Another fire now in Altadena, the Pasadena area, a bit further east. 6:18 p.m., the Eaton fire breaks out in Altadena, 40 miles to the northeast of the Palisades fire. And it's growing fast, with wind gusts of 99 miles per hour. 10:37 p.m., residents in the Eaton Canyon area receive evacuation orders. Thousands of people abandon their homes.
I dismissed the fire and I thought that everybody would be able to take care of it. But then I was woken by the terrible smell of smoke in my room.
Wednesday, 7:05 a.m., buildings remain on fire in both Altadena and along the coast as we get a first look at the destruction left behind from the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire.
This is what is left. Destruction and devastation.
All of our stuff is gone.
Home after home destroyed. To see the blaze lay these vibrant and soulful places to waste so quickly is still so surreal. And every day, as firefighters continue to return to those destroyed homes here in Altadena and in the Palisades, we've been learning more about the people who didn't escape the deadly wildfires. Our Ellen Wagner has a closer look at some of those lives lost.
Among the devastation caused by the fires, there are losses that are irreplaceable. Loved ones, friends, neighbors. 55-year-old Randy Mayad was known to friends as Crawdaddy. Malibu was his favorite place on earth, according to his mother, and his home was a vibrant hangout.
This is the Mad Wall, keeps going.
Known locally as the Crab Shack.
These are all works in progress.
A surfer, an artist, he was found inside his beloved house, reportedly holding his newly adopted kitten. Rory Callum Sykes was born blind and with cerebral palsy, but his mother has said that through surgery and therapy, eventually he regained his sight and learned to walk. The former child star from Australia was a motivational speaker at a young age, giving talks about overcoming adversity.
Tell him it's not what happens to you in life, it's what you do right at that counts.
The 32-year-old died when the cottage he lived in on the family's estate caught fire. Neighbors reportedly offered to drive 85-year-old Annette Versili to safety, but she didn't want to leave her pets or her Pacific Palisades home. In the 1980s, she hired a newly arrived immigrant named Ray Church to work at her company, Palisades Plumbing, giving him what his daughter Siobhan wrote was his first opportunity as he pursued the American dream. He eventually bought the business, which was also destroyed in the fire. In a post on Facebook, Siobhan wrote that the news of Annette's death, quote, has shattered our hearts. She was not just a part of our family's story, but a beacon of kindness and compassion. Across the county, the Eaton fire claimed the lives of a father and his son. Anthony Mitchell, an amputee who used a wheelchair, lived in Altadena with his son Justin, who had cerebral palsy. He told his family he'd called for an ambulance and was waiting to be evacuated. The 67-year-old was found by his son's bedside. He was not going to leave his son behind, his daughter said, no matter what. Rodney Nickerson lived in his home on Alta Pine Drive for over 50 years. The 82-year-old was a leader at the Weller Street Missionary Baptist Church and would go to Skid Row to feed hot meals to those experiencing homelessness. His son Eric recalled the last time they spoke on the phone.
But he said, son, the winds are picking up really bad. Really bad. I tried to talk to him the next morning, and the next morning I couldn't talk to my dad.
Rodney's daughter said he lived in that now destroyed home since it was purchased in 1968 for just $5. We've heard so many stories just like that of deep roots here in Altadena, including the Williams family. 4 generations had grown up here and lived here, and now 4 generations are facing the same uncertain future. Reporter Jillian Jorgensen has their story.
To imagine the life you build for years and years, and just to see it reduced to this.
Eshelle Williams has lived in this Altadena home for 16 years. When she evacuated Tuesday morning at 3:30 a.m., she didn't have time to grab much.
A few pictures. My grandmother had a clock, a 25-year anniversary clock from Alpha Beta grocery store that she worked at, so we got that. Got my father's ashes, his flag from the military, and a few more things, not much. Not much. I think when you think you're coming back, you only take a little bit.
But there will be no coming back to the same home for Williams, nor for her mother, nor for 2 of her sisters. All of their homes burned in the Eaton fire. They're now staying in a hotel in Sherman Oaks, thanks to the generosity of a law firm. But they don't know where they'll be in just a few days.
It's a blessing to live so close to your family. But in this situation, that blessing turned into all of us not having or having the ability to support one another.
They were able to support one another the night of the fire, keeping in communication and deciding as a group to evacuate, allowing all 10 adults, 5 kids, 4 dogs, and 1 parrot to make it to safety.
About 3 in the morning, we start cresting the hill, and it's just blazing, and we all, as a collective, start calling each other, I think we should get out. So all of us got out, we go outside, and it's just pitch black because there's no power at that point. The wind is swirling, the ash is in the air, and we're just like frantically trying to get out in the dark.
Ishel's sister Kimberly Williams Gilliam lost her home, the home their grandmother purchased in 1976.
My grandmother's things was there. Everything, all our pictures that we thought we'd be able to go back to was just gone. But at the same time, my main thought is like everybody got out. Even with all the devastation, we all are still together.
Kimberly and Ishel lived just around the corner from their mother, Matilda, whose home, where the family was raised, also burned. In addition to her 4 daughters, she also raised many foster children here.
People tell me, you know, your mom's house was everything to me. That's my first place that I had comfort, that I knew I felt safe, you know, has been, that part makes me sad. Yeah, to lose that.
About a mile away, their sister Ellen Williams lost her home as well. As she left it for the last time, her 2 neighbors' homes were burning, and she knew hers would be next.
That last look, when you look behind you as you're pulling out the driveway, and I was like, this is my house.
She never imagined she'd be unable to return to her home.
You think about the wedding photos, all my son's pictures when he grew up, my diplomas, my degrees, you know, all of that. It's just reduced to nothing.
Ishel went back to what was her home with her son, Braden, to survey the damage. It wasn't easy.
I know it's hard.
Papers saved from her doctorate were reduced to ashes. But in front of her neighbor's burned home, a little free library stood, undamaged. Inside, Ishel found a children's book she'd written about foster care. In its pages, a memory of the home she's lost, rendered by the illustrator.
This is what our house looked like. Last book all the way to the back, and something said, "Look for the book," and it's here. You can always get some more printed, but take this. I didn't take any of them with me.
The Williams family has set up 2 GoFundMe pages to help rebuild, already raising more than $30,000. And nearly 40 miles to the south and west of here, people in the Pacific Palisades are facing the same unthinkable reality. Their homes, their photos, everything reduced to ash and rubble. Our Chase Beach went with one of those homeowners, and they returned to the debris that remained.
Like thousands of others across Los Angeles, Lexi Cord is walking into a new reality. This was her road.
We haven't heard anything about if our house or my house is still standing or not, but we kind of tried to come at the earliest we could try and get in.
The road where a house she inherited after losing both parents once stood. Lexi and her boyfriend Alex went to see what was left, clutching grocery bags, hoping to bring back some mementos. There was nothing. This is the reality now in the Pacific Palisades and across LA County. Homes turned to ash and rubble. This was Lexi's house. This is what it looks like now. For Lexi, the shock was overwhelming. She says she loved this close-knit coastal community, one that sits between Santa Monica to the south and Malibu to the north.
It was the best, most magical place. This street was, you know, all my friends, super safe, and we just run back and forth from each other's house, play.
Much of the Palisades village, including over 5,000 buildings, have been destroyed. Ariel Mano lives just blocks away. The 59-year-old used this bike to get up the hill to see what the fate of his house was. This is what he found. Ariel, a contractor, says he built the house himself.
Yes, I built it with my hand.
Lifetimes of dedication, work, and care put into this community. So much of it now gone. For Lexi, facing the house was too much.
Anything? Anything?
the Pacific Palisades, and so much of Los Angeles, a city now of tears and flames.
Understandably, when people see these images of destruction, they wonder how this happened. And here's someone who has some essential answers to that question. Is LA County Fire Chief Anthony Maroney. Chief Maroney, thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you so much for your valiant work with you and your colleagues.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us here so we could tell our story.
Well, people around the country are looking at this, and they have theories, they have questions. So what do you want to say to the nation? What happened with this fire and this firefight?
Yeah, I want everybody to know that this was a community conflagration. This was more than a just standard wildfire, a wildland brush fire. This was a community conflagration fueled by extremely strong winds, 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, these high winds made it so that you couldn't attack the fire from the air, which is unusual, and we saw that spread. And we saw there being reports, there being a lack of water pressure for fire hydrants, the city level, but even the county level and beyond. With perfect water pressure, how much of a difference would that have made given the conditions?
It would have made the difference in that we might have been able to save some additional structures, but it certainly would not have prevented this.
How many structures are we looking at? Because we've lost thousands.
Well, right now we're looking at over 7,000 structures damaged or destroyed.
And how many would we have potentially saved with perfect pressure?
That would be impossible to calculate. You are right. We didn't have the aerial firefighting resources available to us because of the strong winds. So it was really a ground firefight operation from the men and women in the local neighborhood fire stations.
And when some of those folks, some of those firefighters are looking at these homes, and on occasion, the winds are blowing the embers sporadically. Maybe they don't have enough water. They have to make these tough decisions of which house to save or choose. What's the training on that? What's the feeling as a firefighter?
We train all the time on structure defense with our personnel, and that is a tough decision, and they have to make an assessment of both homes very quickly and decide which one to go to. It's a terrible decision to have to make, but our number one decision that we always make is that we prioritize life over property. So many firefighters from the local area went right into life safety mode when they first arrived on scene of the Eaton fire. They were trying to get people out of the way of the head of the fire.
And Chief Maroney, there's been so much conversation about the nature of the alert, this particularly dangerous situation, this PDS that the National Weather Service provides. Was it sufficient? Did people hear and heed the call?
Well, the LA County Fire Department certainly heard the call, and we staffed up that morning, 7:30 in the morning. We held over our off-going shift. We staffed all of our reserve apparatus. We were ready to go before the first fire started.
How much more resources would you have needed? Would it have been possible to staff up with enough trucks? Because I heard you say something like it takes 3 trucks for one house usually, and you mentioned thousands of structures.
Yeah, if 7,000 structures times 3 trucks would be 21,000 engines. We don't have that in the state of California, let alone the ability to get it all here now. So it really wasn't a function of not enough trucks. It was a function of how is a community built? Are the buildings hardened? Can they survive without a fire truck there? And they can't.
And given the nature of these winds and your inability to attack this fire from the air for so long and the exponential fan of flames, and knowing these conditions could come again, unprecedented as they were, what is the thing that we can do to be better prepared for next time?
Well, I think that we really have to do 3 things. We have to manage our wildland environment, that ecosystem, to make sure that we thin out the brush. We have to make sure that every structure has some defensible space. And number 3 would be we have to build homes and businesses that are standalone, that could survive an incident similar to the one we experienced here without a fire truck being there. They have to be built of fire-resistant construction.
Well, Chief Maroney, you've laid out the blueprint there, and in addition to just being on the ground at all these news conferences and with your firefighters, thank you so much for taking this time, and please pass on our gratitude deeply to this heroic fire responders.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of your viewers. We have numerous stories of not only tragedy, but of triumph.
No, we know that and we feel that. Thank you so much, Chief Maroney. As Chief Maroney says, another one of the big stories are these stories of triumph and of compassion. And for one Palisades resident, that act of compassion, that path to healing began with listening. Nikki Kay has that story.
I need everything.
Well, I got a suitcase right here, and I guess I'll just try and fill it up with stuff.
After losing the home he grew up in, along with all of his material possessions, Orly Israel came to start piecing his life back together.
Here we have open boxes that have clothes in small, medium, large.
He arrived at Moss in Venice, a donation center for those impacted by the LA fires.
This is a lot. You know, I've always wanted to be one of the people giving, and now being one of the people getting is like, it's really wild.
This is my house on fire, and
it was just days ago, Orly was trying to fight flames from devouring his Palisades home.
I just couldn't win, and this is what my house looks like today.
This past week has been nothing short of a nightmare.
And every time you wake up for a second, you feel like it's a sleepover. And then 5 seconds later, you realize, oh, right, the house burned down.
With everything gone, he came in search of basic necessities, wearing one of only 2 shirts that he owns. This one has significance.
It's got my listening table on it, which is a project that I've started years ago, all about how to be there for somebody, just to tell them you're here to listen.
I met Orly at his listening table 2 years ago, a social endeavor he started on his own to create a space where anyone could come share what's on their mind.
Being able to have somebody who is willing to give you the time of day just to be there for you. No judgment, no advice, no expectations. Is something I've done for people because I know how important it can be.
Over the years, he's given his time and patience to countless strangers.
Trying to make friends out here, you know?
And Orly is now recognizing the listening table has turned.
We're here for you, seriously. Anything you need, and if you want to get our phone number, seriously, like, yeah, anyone.
And so people doing it to me and saying, I'm here for you, I'm here to listen, it's just giving me everything.
In the wake of so much loss, he says he's received the greatest gift.
For the last 3 years, I've been sharing the message that the people in your lives are the most important things, and that the relationships you have are the #1 indicator of long-term happiness. And now all I have is the relationships, and I'm so happy.
From loving friends to complete strangers, Orly has listened, and now he's learning. A gaping hole caused by so much tragedy is being filled by compassion and love.
And seeing all these acts of compassion is so uplifting. I've heard so many stories of these helpers, of this selflessness. And it goes to show, in a time of crisis, a county of almost 10 million people and a country that has its divides can come together. Under orange skies and with smoke approaching his home in Altadena, Maurice Simpson jumped into action.
I am watering the roofs at 3 different houses. My house, my neighbors, and then my other neighbor.
Even those who lost their homes put their grief aside to show up for their neighbors.
You know, the only thing to do is move forward and help others keep what they have currently.
And we saw this in every community facing these fires.
We came out here to try to get her some help, but now we're actually taking stuff to people's cars. We're helping organize. We're helping people get what they need when people call out what they need.
Here at the Rose Bowl, what began as social media posts by hot dog vendors, feeding folks who were hungry, turned into a massive donation site with hundreds of volunteers and thousands of items, a community effort so big that it had to move to a larger space at Santa Anita Park.
This is so beautiful right now to see everybody coming together. I'm sorry, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
And some evacuees became volunteers to serve warm meals to those in need.
I rode my bike into my neighborhood 2 days ago, and my whole neighborhood was gone. I think in moments of crisis, you have to give back. I think that's how you start to feel better.
And that feeling and need to give back wasn't about money or race, age or politics. There was 14-year-old Avery Culver setting up a free boutique for teenage girls after seeing on social media that her school went up in flames.
I want them to feel confident. I want them to feel like they have a piece of their identity back when everything else is gone.
It shows a lot of comfort to know that community cares.
And it is a caring community that stretches far beyond the boundaries of Los Angeles County, with donation collections from the northernmost parts of the state to supply drives across the country in Brooklyn.
Thank you so much.
To the quiet, snowy corners of Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin.
It got worse and worse and worse, so we knew that we should do something.
And so a small shop owner is selling a Golden State candle and donating proceeds from a town of just under 10,000 people with the warmth to reach 10 million Angelenos.
It's been incredibly inspiring to see the support. You know, everybody's just filling the space with love. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, amidst all the loss is an abundance of love. It's incredible.
An abundance of love, but also of strength, resilience, compassion, hope.
It's tough, but we're gonna do it because we're out to do this strong.
As Mr. Rogers once said, in times of catastrophe, always look for the helpers.
Because if you look for the helpers, you'll know that there's hope.
Look for the helpers. It's a map in a place where houses and heritage have turned to dust. I've spoken about these fires on air for over 50 hours in the days after they started, and in some sense, seeing this, I'll still never have the words. But for all that heartbreak, there is heart to take, and it comes in the form of help. We put links to several organizations that are on the ground in California making a difference. You can find that on our website, spectrumnews1.com, also on our Spectrum News app. We leave you with the words of a very proud Angeleno, poet Amanda Gorman, who lives in Pacific Palisades, her home spared, but her heart broken. She wrote a poem to process her own fears, to help heal, and to say thank you to the first responders. Her Instagram story has already raised more than $100,000 for the California Fire Foundation. Here is that poem, Smoldering Dawn.
All our angels have gone. This smoldering dawn we soldier on. We've proved ourselves strong, not from how badly we've burned, but how bravely we bond. Apocalypse does not mean ruin, but revelation. In devastation, this infernus has injured us, but it cannot endure us. Even in the surreal, we do not surrender. We emerge from the embers. The hardest part is not disaster, but the after. Scorched earth is where the heart hurts, where we restore first, where we start the work today. We mourn, tomorrow reborn. We end the burning, befriend the hurting, mend those who face the flame. We reclaim our city's name, a revelation that only this place tells. To find our angels, all we need do is look within ourselves.
Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest information, balanced coverage, weather updates every 10 minutes, and more. We'll see you then.